So this is Sure Shot. It's a Windows game made in 2002, but before I talk about the game, I need to talk about one MDickie, probably better known by his fandom and his hatedom as MDickie, known to me as the game developer with an ego so absolutely friggin' enormous that it has to be sealed in Pandora's box for fear that it might escape and make everyone else's ego permanently bigger. Or maybe it's contained in a nuclear flask. Seriously, those things have to be indestructible. Holy crap. Though this was his very first actual release, so his ego wasn't quite inflated yet. The description is one paragraph and states that it was hailed as a gem by PC Utilities magazine, which, well, it was. I'd mention that too. But you'll see, his ego starts branching out oh so very quickly later. But those are stories for another review, so let's just get to the game. So, Sure Shot is about two people who used to be part of an army of 50, which isn't an army, Matt, that's a platoon. Not to be confused with the movie, but I digress. So, due to poor military planning, everyone else is either killed, captured, or have betrayed you and turned to the enemy's side, and you two go off and hide in the grasslands. You can't hide forever, though, so you do the only possible logical thing in this situation. No, it's not call for backup. You come up with a tactic that involves shooting directly at each other, putting each other at great risk to pin your enemies in a hail of gunfire. Yep, this is the Sure Shot tactic, which actually seems more like the groin shot tactic. Seriously, you can't tell me that any enemy or hostage in this game isn't getting shot in the gonads. What kind of harebrained tactic is this anyways? Thankfully, this tactic seems to make the enemies unable to use their guns unless they get right up next to you, so you just might have a chance after all. If you can't tell, this is meant to be a two-player game, but you can still do it one player if you want. Oh, and you also get TNT, so there you go, you can blow people up. In some levels, at least. Before each level, your first player will tell you what to expect from the enemies, and the second player tells you if you have any TNT placed. Who is this second player, anyways? Maybe... Bean! Nah. Oh yeah, I can only move the TNT left since my MacBook doesn't have a right control key. Customizable keys would be nice, but oh well. There's actually also a Star Wars version of this game, but it's kind of like having a different colored M&M. It looks different, but it tastes exactly the same. You just play as Han Solo and Chewie and kill stormtroopers, bounty hunters, and other such things by shooting them in the balls, and use a thermal detonator. So pick your outer coating, it's the same chocolatey game inside. That is to say, I won't be reviewing that one because it's literally the exact same game. Damn it, now I want some M&Ms. So at first, this game is actually pretty simple. Enemies come in, you shoot them, they try to duck out of the way once in a while, and you try not to shoot each other. When the last enemy or two is pinned by bullets, just keep on shooting, because mercifully, any shots that hit the player characters after the level ends don't count. This prevents the frustrating you beat the level except not scenario that can happen sometimes in video games. But then you start getting hostages! Let me sum up everyone's feelings about hostages. Obviously, you can't kill the hostages. You have to get the hostages out. This is the only constant I've ever seen in video games besides weapon on fire equals better weapon. The escort mission is always a negative constant. Not to mention that these hostages are as dumb as the enemies and have no sense of self-preservation whatsoever, running around and ducking at random, only safe when they finally run behind one of your guys. They can even make the game unwinnable at times, especially when the suicide people start showing up, and you can't shoot them because you'll kill the hostages, and if you try to shoot the suicide bomber, it'll blow up the hostage anyways. But then the suicide bomber reaches you and just blows you up and you fail anyways, so no matter what, you're totally hosed. Dumbass hostages. At least they can take some hits before dying, so that's a plus. Whoa, hey, wait a minute. This thing was made in 2002 and we have Al-Qaeda-looking suicide bombers? It's kind of trivial, really, how to react to this.
Whatever.
Ah, yes, thank you, Jafar. Exactly. That sums it up nicely. Speaking of the suicide bombers, they must have balls made of explodium or something with your whole groin shot tactic and everything. Just saying. But anyways, you progress through 25 different stages, each introducing more enemies, hostages, enemies that dress in your colors, hostages that are dressed in enemy colors, and they even start taking away the warnings above the hostages' heads by the end of it all. Oh hey, look, a biblical reference near the end of the game. It's MDickie, you tend to find those in his games. You know, assuming it isn't entirely made of them, but, we'll get to that another time. Speaking of biblical references, all the hostages kind of look like Jesus, don't they? Or am I just stretching here? Ah well, just don't shoot the Jesuses and shoot the Hulk Hogan wannabes, alright? By the way, those guys are called muscle men.
That's right, ladies!
Yeah, I had to get that joke in there. It seems like a decent game all in all. It's kinda hard to kill things without hitting your teammate, and the hostages are dumb as a bag of rocks, but you get used to it. After a while, you start realizing the one glaring problem with this game. Aside from when the enemies come in, the entire game is completely random. Not just the hostages, you just notice it more in them because it makes them seem really stupid, and stupid hostages are annoying. The different enemies have different speeds, damages, and will lie down more or less often, but where they move, when they lie down, all the behavior that they exhibit is completely and totally random, which can make a level either easy or completely maddeningly frustrating, all depending on how your luck turns out. Oh, and sometimes you'll be waiting for one enemy who's lying on the ground and you used up your TNT or just plain don't have any. So yeah, fun. Still, despite the randomness, certain levels are still harder than others. The Knife Man training facility comes to mind because they love to stand up and duck down really quickly, along with any level that has both suicide bombers and hostages at the same time. But that particular situation doesn't really feel challenging, it just feels really cheap. So, yeah, I don't know how I feel about the difficulty exactly, but still decent. It curves rather smoothly at least. So should you try it? If you have a Windows computer, I say you might as well. It's free, it's only 2.3 megabytes, it's fairly decent, and the levels are rather bite-sized. I got past the entire game in about an hour and a half, so if you like some tiny little bite-sized pieces of action, then I say go for it. This is Tanara Kuranov signing off, and this is the only war I've seen where I've been told to go for the testicles instead of the jugular.
Mine. Trying.
Well, some of you might or might not know this. I did a Let's Play of this one, and in that Let's Play I did try to imitate a couple of people. I tried to imitate Duke Nukem and his balls of steel, and I tried to imitate Sylvester Stallone and, whatever it is he has besides, rescuing the hostages, killing Felix, and all of that. But in my intro, someone thought I sounded like, George Takei, and, you know, if you don't know who that is, Sulu from Star Trek. Before I'd figured out exactly who it was I was imitating because I hadn't come up with any fixed voices in the intro. So, you know something, just because of that comment, let's see if I can read the intro with an impersonation of, Mr. Takei. Oh my. An army of 50 men was dispatched on this island. We were amongst them. Our mission was very simple, to destroy the enemy and liberate the territory. However, our commander had greatly underestimated the enemy. He led us into a suicidal war against hundreds of troopers. The mission was a fatal failure before we had even set up camp. In the panic, some men ran for their lives, never to be seen again. Some surrendered to the enemy and vowed to serve as traitors. Oh my. Many weren't fortunate enough to make either choice, as they were captured by the enemy and forced to serve as hostages. Oh my. We sought refuge in these grasslands while we planned our next move. We couldn't hide forever. We needed to make some sort of assault. I suggested camping out on either side of the field, with a view for sandwiching any enemy that passed by in a blaze of machine gun fire. Oh my. It would take perfect marksmanship and cooperation, as the slightest misfire would see us shoot each other. But that was a risk we simply had to take. Only then could we eliminate so many enemies and liberate each area of the island. Progressing to the coast was our only hope to leave this place. Oh my. Yeah, that was probably terrible, but there you go. I tried. Sorry, George Takei. See you later.